Hualu kini kini ka hua o hi'a le hua mai o a o lono nui a kea. Hali hali a e ka e heu hulu makani. I po ia e ka polima hana o ka nehoa o honua mea. Ua a, ua mole, ua mo halaiala o ka apapane, o ka mamo, o ka nuku I iwi. O ka ahihi mai hiki lalo ai hiki luna e waihone a hiali'i mo kula. Ua I kea he leonoia. Aloha mai kākou o Lehuanani DeFranco ko inoa. He kiaʻi Kanaka maoli au no nā pono o nā ʻŌiwi. E kahea ana au mai nā ʻaina o Lenape a me Canarsie. Hello everyone, my name is Lehuanani DeFranco. I am a Native Hawaiian protector for Indigenous rights. I'm a guest and calling from Lenape and Canarsie lands, also known as Brooklyn, New York, and my pronouns are she, her, or oia, since we don't have genderized pronouns in Olelo Hawaiʻi, which is our Hawaiian language. So I decided to start today with a mele komo, which is an introduction chant. And this was taught by Kekuhi Kealiʻikanakaʻolehaililani, who is the kumu for Hālau ʻŌhiʻa, which is a Hawaiian stewardship program of the land. And really what this chant does is it asks us permission before we walk into a space. So it's a chant that we learned in order to walk into new spaces, whether physical or virtual, to make sure that we're coming in with ceremony and intention, to make sure that we're coming in with the right thoughts. And so we are supposed to be listening to the land and making sure that we are moving in a correct way. And that chant specifically talks about our ʻŌhiʻa trees that bloom the lehua blossom. And it talks about seeing the ʻŌhiʻa trees just so vast and so in bloom that the ground is just covered with lehua blossoms, these beautiful red and yellow blossoms that with many of our plants are under threat. And they're being lovingly taken care of by the sun and the earth and the humans. And these petals are just a tapestry. So it's another prophecy of making sure that we are taking care of our land and that we're doing all that we can to protect the plant people and the animal people. So I'm a kiaʻi, I'm a protector from Mauna Kea, which is the tallest mountain in the world from the seafloor. So Mauna Kea has been a 10-year battle and was threatened again in 2019 with the construction of the 30-meter telescope. You know, they talk about progress and that the desecration of this ʻaina is worth it because they have to build this telescope. But, you know, it really begs to question progress for who? When Native Hawaiians are being pushed off their land and have the highest poverty rate in Hawaii, you can really see who the progress is for, and it's not for us. The 2020 Astrodecadal Survey, which comes from the astronomy community, and this encourages astronomy projects for the next decade. They have, to no surprise, have voiced their support for the TMT project, the 30-meter telescope. And so now what most likely will happen is that the National Science Foundation will approve a grant from the University of California to help them fund this project. The more and more this project has been delayed, the more expensive it gets, which is our plan. And so another thing that's happened is that the University of Hawaii, who are supposed to be the caretakers of this land, they've put out a draft for their master lease for Mauna Kea, which of course is just completely ignorant of the real issues at hand and further demonstrates the terrible mismanagement that they have committed as leaseholders. There's this idea that the Mauna, and this has actually been said in some of their statements, the Mauna has been desecrated so many times that desecrating her one more time wouldn't have an effect. And I think as Indigenous people, we all know that that is not true. That every time that desecration happens, every time that a woman is violated, it has another effect. And so with my relationship with healing from sexual assault, I've really been able to heal a lot through taking care of this mana and knowing that that my body is just as important. And so if I'm going to be protecting these bodies around me, I also have to protect my body too. So, I don't think about really what I get in return to protect the Mauna, but yet there she is giving me strength to process and heal and to show that we have to be in relationship with the land and with each other. I'm also a dancer, and I trained classically my whole life and then moved into contemporary. I've also trained a bit in hula, not as much as I would like to, being over here in New York. And I also dance with a group, Te Amana, which is an Ori Tahiti, a Tahitian dance group here that spreads Polynesian education throughout New York City. And it's been really incredible to go to the Mauna, and when I was up there learning protocol and learning these hulas and learning these chants, it was so grounding for me, knowing that my entire life of training, even as a classical dancer, was for that moment, was to make sure that I could learn these hulas in a really digestible way, and I was able to connect with something, and to know that my path as a dancer has taken me all over, but it really is more that dance training has prepared me to be on the front lines, and to connect with my culture and to learn my culture, when for so many of us, our culture has been taken away from us. And also being a guest on Turtle Island, making sure that I am in ceremony and in relationship with the people who are first to this land here. I think that's a really important lesson for anybody who's going to be in organizing or movement work. You want to be protecting your own lands too, but you have to be protecting other sites and other cultures, because it's the same fight. It might be a different mountain, it might be a different water source, it might be a different issue, whether it's a pipeline or a telescope, or fuel tanks. But in the end, all of us are really trying to protect this earth together. So we all have to be in relationship with each other. For me, another way that I've been able to connect to my culture in a new way is being able to combine my my dance and my art to Hawaiian language. So how I do that a lot is through scores. So similar to music scores where you have notes and different keys and everything, with dance scores, you basically create yourself a movement score. So this is how I move. And in the past, I've worked with a good friend of mine to create these movement scores through olelo noʻeaus, through Hawaiian proverbs, which for me helps me learn more about the language. And then through that, I translate those olelo noʻeaus through movement. So that has been really exciting and something that I am really excited to move forward with, because I think that we should all, as you can tell through these amazing people who are all here, everybody does so many things. While we're all artists, while organizers, we're all protectors of the land and our relatives. So yeah, mahalo for having me here. It's been really amazing to hear everybody's stories about where they come from, and I really hope that we can continue to connect through all these different movements, and through all our different cultures, because there's so much of it that's in with each other. Mahalo.